Okay, so I want to quickly go over the rules of line variation with you because you're going to be using them now on this flower. So here they are, and they'll make sense. Line is thickest where it curves or changes direction, and the line is thinnest at the beginning and at the end. So in other words, if we look at this line right here, right, think of this as the beginning, think of this as a curve or change of direction. This is another curve or change of direction, and this is the end. So it's going to be thinnest here and thickest here and here. So you're like, well, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, so far, you guys know that to change the line stroke, you would just come up to stroke, right? And then you would change it to something else. But that it doesn't work for us for this one. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to use this little tool right here called the line width tool. Here it is. And it's Shift W, by the way, if you ever want to grab it. And here's how I recommend it works. If you come in, you can see that there's now like, it's not always there, but it like kind of shows up as like a little tilde, but watch what happens. If I come over here and if I just drag, it drags it from both sides, which I don't like. Okay, but it creates this line width here. Now, if I don't like that and I want to get rid of it, I can bring it in, but it's harder to do that. Here's a little trick. You double click on where the line width tool is, so right here or here, and then you just say delete, and it's back to where it was. But I'm going to come over here, and here's the trick. If you hold down the Option key, you can only drag from one side. See that? Look at that. See? And now if I want it to get thinner again over here, because it's supposed to be thin at the end, hold down the Option key, and I get that. So I can actually manipulate, I'm just holding down the Option key as I go, the line width for this. Pretty cool, huh? So that's basically it. I'm just holding down the Option key, and I'm coming in with a line width. Now, again, line is thickest where it curves or changes direction. So here, here, but this is going to be kind of thin. So I'm going to leave that alone. Come over here, make sure I'm activating this line because it's the one that's highlighted. Holding down the Option key again, and I'm going to bring that out and bring this in on that side. That looks pretty good. See how I can change the line variation of this pretty quickly. And that's really the challenge, is I want you guys to play around with this. So if it goes thin, thick, and then as it curves under, it gets thin again, gets thicker again, gets thinner again, and then this would be thick here again. See how I just kind of mess with it? And this would be thin right here, and this would be thick. Where it's coming out, it'd be thick, and where it comes in, it would be thin. So you see how I can kind of play around with that. So it takes a little bit of time. So I'm just holding down the Option key as I go. And then at the very end here where it's going to be thinnest, so I'm going to just move that in. Be a little careful there. So that looks pretty good so far. And I just keep adding that wherever. So like, for example, these pieces here, you can see they're kind of, this is kind of an example where I break the rules a little bit because it was thick at the bottom and then thin at the top. So I'm going to, again, hold the Option key. Oops, I've got the wrong line, or I went the wrong way with it. Hold the Option key and drag it out if it lets me. Let's see. It's being kind of stubborn. Let me double click and cancel. Can't see what I'm doing here, so I have to zoom in a little bit. Grab that. Yep. Well, I'm not sure where that is right there, but I'll just use this one then. And you can see I can make that thick. And then this gets pretty darn thin up there, so I'm going to make that thin. And then this kind of does something funky. I think I'll just do that, right? And then maybe this needs to be a little bit longer for me to really play around with it, so I can still adjust that. See? And just maybe move that over so that looks better. So I don't want to leave stuff looking like this. I'm really not happy with the way that looks, but I can't seem to find that very end of that anchor point. So I could, using this, just kind of move this up a little bit, move this down, but you get the idea. So thin and thick everywhere where the line curves or changes direction. So follow these rules of the line variation and you can't go wrong. So I just wanted to show you how to get started with this, but the idea is to finish the whole flower using these rules of line variation. And I'll post an example of what I'm talking about when it's done.